Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you very much for joining our eConnect hosted by Top Up Consultants. So how we're going to do the webinar today is we're going to share a couple of slides with you, and then I'm going to hand over to Dean Nixon, our technical director, who's going to go through the actual web demo of the eConnect product. So I would like to just start by sharing a little bit about information about us as Top Up Consultants. We were established in 1997 to provide professional consultancy services to the real estate industry. We have grown to be the largest real estate software consultancy in Europe, Middle East, and Africa. We pride ourselves in being multi-language and having deep industry expertise. We provide services like help desk, first line support, project management, custom application services, and of course MRI services. We have a London HQ and we have a Central European office in Frankfurt. Something that's very, very unique about Top Up Consultants is that we are the only company in the world that are both an MRI authorized software partner and an MRI authorized service partner. I'd just like to share the next slide with a little bit of our current clients and clients that use us worldwide. So as you can see, there's a mixture of owners, investors, managers, multifamily, retail, etc. I would also like to just say that we will be exhibiting at MRI IUC this year, and we look forward to seeing you all in Orlando at the Lowe's Royal Pacific Resort. We will be at stand 504 in the solutions room, so please come and see us. I'd like to talk a little bit about the product that we're going to be showing you today. So as I said before, eConnect is an MRI authorized software partner product, and the key features to the product is that eConnect is an advanced communication tool that enables you to automate your cumbersome real estate correspondence tasks. It will enhance your communication with clients, tenants, and partners. It can compile complicated reporting packs in seconds and distribute them. It quickly sorts out your land and digital mail requirements. It also has a distribution email or SMS broadcast. It also does fully track and email delivery of read-write receipt, and it also does write back to your ERP or to your chosen file server. I'd like that now to hand over to Dean Nixon, our technical director, to go through the demo of eConnect.
Thank you, Kiri. Good morning, everybody. I hope you're all well, and thank you for taking the time to join us on our webinar today. Before I start the demonstration, I'd just like to say that at any point, if you have any questions, please feel free to pop a question into the chat window, which will be at the right-hand side of your screen, and hopefully we'll be able to answer any questions that you may have. Okay, so as Kiri mentioned, our eConnect application is an advanced communication tool for MRI software, as well as other property management systems that are available. So I'm going to take you on a small journey from when we're first running correspondence from MRI itself through to using the eConnect tool and then also distributing that out, and you'll be able to see the results of those correspondence being sent out once we've fully processed them. So in the first example I'm going to show you is I'm going to run a piece of correspondence from MRI, and this can be absolutely any piece of correspondence you want. It doesn't have to be anything such as a statement or an invoice. It can be GL-based reports, it can be supplier, it can be residential, it can be any particular piece of correspondence from MRI that you want to communicate, whether that be to a partner, to a tenant, to an owner, to any, or even just within inside your business as well. So in this example today, I'm going to run a report here, and I'm going to select a standard monthly statement here. So I'm going to run that, and I'm just going to run it in, output it to a PDF. So this is the way in which one of the mechanisms which we process things from MRI into eConnect. Now, we can also automate this process as well, and we can email the correspondence from MRI straight into eConnect, and that eConnect will automatically pick that up and process it. But for this example, we're just going to do a manual method here. So I'm going to run and close my piece of correspondence. That's now running, as we can see there at the bottom. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open the PDF version of my report. As you can see, this contains 10 pages. So this is 10 different pieces of 10 different tenant communications here. So I'm just going to download that. I'm going to call it statement. And that's now saved. So I'm going to go to my eConnect application and log in here. Now, as I mentioned to you before, we can automatically upload information from MRI itself straight into eConnect, and if that was to happen, that would appear here in this file review section here. Now, this is the eConnect landing page, and this is where we can use to upload our information, and this is where we review information when it first arrives into the system. I'm going to select the box here, and this now opens up a file browser for me, and I can pick the pieces of correspondence I want to upload. So there's our one there from our statement. I'm going to upload that and click upload. Now, what that's doing is eConnect's reading through that PDF, and it's working out where the different pieces of correspondence start and end, and it's automatically splitting the information out on a tenant by tenant basis. Now, what it's doing that at the same time, it's actually communicating with MRI. It can communicate both on-premise and SaaS, and it will go away and it will pull the email addresses live from an MRI database itself, either over the API for SaaS or over a direct database connection if you have an on-premise solution. It can also pick up other information such as building names, unit names, lease contact details, contact names, basically any piece of information you hold within your MRI database, it can then pick that up and pull that through. Likewise, if you hold your email address database elsewhere outside of MRI, we can also communicate with that to pull that information through as well. So we've uploaded our PDF, which contains, as we said, 10 items. And as you can see here, we have 6 items that can be sent, and we have four exceptions. We also have some other information as well. So who it was generated by. So that's my username from MRI itself. Here we have our template name from inside MRI, so we can see we use the max CMS TMT2 statement, and just some file information there. I'm going to look inside the piece of correspondence we uploaded now. At the very top of the screen, we have our exceptions. So our exceptions are items which we've processed which don't have corresponding email addresses. So we have 4 leases here which we're unable to find email addresses for. And at the bottom, we have our valid items, or basically the ones where we're able to find email addresses for them. So as I mentioned, when this uploaded, we went away to MRI as this was processing, and we pulled the information back. Now, what eConnect allows us to do here is if, for instance, we knew for this particular lease, for Big Box LLC, we knew their email address because we had an email from them yesterday and we haven't got around to updating MRI yet, we can simply click Edit, and then we can type in our email address. Now, depending on how you want this to work, because it's completely configurable, we can either, when we click Update this button here, we can either send a signal back to MRI for you, and that will automatically update your MRI lease record or your relevant record where it's come from, and it will update that, or you can just simply update the one time that you're sending it here. And you'll see that item I've just updated will then move from the email address, the exceptions at the top, down to the valid items at the bottom. Now, the other reason we come up with this concept of exceptions as well is because a lot of our clients that currently use this process huge amounts of correspondence every single month. So I think our largest clients in a single document will process about 3,500 statements in one single document. And they were having a scenario that they had probably around 1,000 out of those 3,500 they still had to post. They didn't have email addresses for all those pieces of correspondence. So we come up with this concept that basically that you can come in here, click the print exceptions button, and that will generate a brand new PDF for us which just contains the items that do not have email addresses. So then it's nice and convenient that you can just send that PDF off to your mailing house or to your mail room or to your printer, so they can be posted out, and then you just have to worry yourself about the ones that you can actually email yourself. Now, when we come into process this, we have some additional items at the bottom of this review screen as well. So again, this is another nice feature that we've added to into eConnect quite recently, actually, and it's the ability to group emails. So in a scenario where you have the same tenant across multiple units or across multiple leases, across multiple buildings, this gives us the ability to group all that information up into one single email. So we have the scenario here, we have my email address at the top, we have a few more, obviously, top-up consultants related email addresses, but if I was to tick the group emails button there, what this tells eConnect to do is, rather than sending individual emails, so in this case 2 emails to deannixon@topupconsultants.com, it will send 1 email to deannixon@topupconsultants.com. Then we have one further option, the single or multiple option. So what this basically says to us is send it as multiple attachments. So the bills that relate to these two leases, we can send them as individual attachments, or we can combine them together in one single attachment as well. So we've got 2 different options there as well. Also, you'll see here we have the attachments link. So at any point we can click on the link and we can view the attachment or the correspondence that's going to be sent to that tenant or that partner or that client at any time there. Once we're happy with everything that we've seen here, we can click on this button that's marked as reviewed. Now, what this button does, it's basically just a rubber stamp for us that basically says we're happy with everything that's gone on there, we're happy to proceed to the next step to send things on. Now, one thing I will say is that that whole process that you've just seen me do there, that can be completely automated as well. A lot of our clients have now configured eConnect in a way that you don't even have to log into eConnect anymore. They set up some rules so that all things automatically process through in a certain way they want to. So they can know that for a certain template they have an MRI, that'll automatically process through eConnect without any need for reviewing, without any need for checking it. They're quite happy for it just to process through. And I'll show you a bit about that later on during the demonstration. Now, once we've reviewed our particular piece of correspondence and we're happy to send it, we go through to our email button. And our email button then shows us basically our pending emails, so basically the ones that are ready to be sent. And again, we have a summary here, so we have the file name, we have the statement, we have the template name, we have who it was uploaded by, who it was reviewed by, and how many items are there to be sent. You notice there's 5 items to be sent there, even though we had 11 items in our preview window. And basically this is it's giving us a message at the top here saying the below emails will be grouped by email address and sent as a single attachment because we selected the single option during the grouping. Now again, this is a very nice high-level review screen, and what we can see is at any point we can click on this view attachment link once again, and we can see the attachment that's going to be sent out to the tenant. Now in this case we've combined information, so we should have 2 pages here, as you can see, 1 of 2, where we're combining those two particular pieces of correspondence. Once we're happy and we're ready for this information to be sent, we simply have to come down, tick the tick before sending button. That's just a precaution, just in case someone gets a bit too button happy. And then we hit the send email button, and then away it goes, and that's now been sent. Now, that's now busy being sent out to all the relevant email addresses, and that will come through to my inbox in here any moment now. But while I'm just waiting for that information to come through, one thing I'll show you is that eConnect has the ability to track all the correspondence that we send out. So we have an email history tab here. So the email history tab allows us to fully search everything that we've sent out and also resend or forward information. Now, MRI is very good, especially with the new Go features at finding things very quickly. However, if you still want to rerun a statement for a particular, let's say the spa at Bayview, you'll still have to obviously enter that information into your relevant statement or your lease or your invoice, and then find that through. What this search allows us to do is very easy search on a lease ID, a particular building ID, and filter that information through, and then simply just resend that again. So if I want to see everything for, say, building 300, I would just search that information. That will then filter down, or you can search for a particular email address or for a particular lease, all the relevant different bits and pieces here. What you'll also notice as well is we have a delivered flag and a read flag. So quite simply, that allows us to search for items that have not been delivered, so we can see them when things have been errored. We can search for items that have been, have failed, and that allows us to keep a track on making sure that our correspondence is being delivered. Now, if I go to my inbox here, what you'll see is I have two emails, because you might have seen I had two email addresses there, one for dean.nixon, one for deannixon@topconsultants.com. I'll open the top one here. So you'll see this is the email that's been received from eConnect from me. Now, unlike a lot of property management systems, when you send an email, typically, if you send it via a property management system, it will come from their email address. Even though it might say your email address on top of it, the source server will be from their SMTP server. eConnect's very unique because it sends from your email server. We can provide a gateway if you don't want us to use that, but everything will come from your email gateway, which reduces the risk of things being blocked as spamming and things such as that. Now you'll see also here in this particular email body, it's tailored for me. So it has my logo on it, it has my text, it has my email address inside it. I'll just open up the attachment as well so you can see there's the two attachments we've just been sent to ourselves. Now, within eConnect, you can fully tailor every single piece of correspondence you're sending out, and you don't have to worry. You don't have to do that every single time you upload a template. We have, within our admin section, and I'll just go to that right now, a template creator. And then what we do is within a template creator, and I'll just edit this one here. This is one we sent out for CM statement. Within our template creator, we have a fully, what we call WYSIWYG HTML editor. So basically, we can make things bold or pink or different colors, different font size. We can embed images. And if you're really talented HTML developer, you can also switch to a code view, which enables you to just type in HTML code directly. But this allows us to fully, make complete use and take every opportunity to make all the information through to your tenants as much as possible. We can also embed fields that we use within the application as well. So as you can see here, we have a field that says MRI contact name. We have a field there that says primary email in square brackets. And we have a whole list of fields which can be included in your email templates as well. And when we're typically setting something up for you guys, it will talk to you and say, what information do you want to pull out of MRI when you're sending emails? Because we have up to 50 fields available that we can populate with information from MRI for you. So we can populate things like current balances. We can populate things like rent review dates and lease termination dates and things like that. So any information you want to send, we can pull through from MRI for you as well. Now, once we've created our template, we just have to map it to a particular piece of correspondence. So if I go to my applications mapping tab, you'll see here I have a nice little mapping set up here, which shows me for my CM statements, I want to use a CM statement template. I want things to be replied to this email address. So again, the way we typically set up eConnect is that when we're sending information out, we typically go from one particular email address, an accounts receivable outbound or a info at your company name. Everything comes from one central email address. But when the tenants are applying back, or the partners, or the clients are applying back, you want them to go back to a specific email address. Now that can be configured. We have here, I think everything's going back to my email address here, but we have a number of clients who are quite large property managers, and they send out thousands upon thousands upon thousands of emails every single month. But what we do is for them is that we configured eConnect in a way so that when a tenant hits reply to an email from that particular property manager, the reply goes straight back to the particular client accountant that was responsible for that tenant. So there's no going into a generic inbox when the tenants are replying. They're going directly to the people they need to talk to. The other thing you may notice here is we have a note type as well. So within eConnect, we can also write back to MRI when things are sending. So we can update things like lease notes or building notes, or we can update basically anywhere we want to within MRI, within reason, of course. Just to say that this particular piece of correspondence was going out. So if you're looking at history over a lease or history over a supplier, for instance, on an accounts payable side of things, you can really understand exactly what's going on outside of MRI as well as within the system itself. So that's the very basic level of a single piece of correspondence being sent from MRI. But You know, that's from eConnect, sorry, from MRI via eConnect. But that's quite simple and straightforward. Obviously, you know, we all know you can send invoices from MRI itself. So what can eConnect do over and above? I mean, obviously, you've seen things like the added features such as the history. But where eConnect comes into itself is its ability to merge information and combine information and automate that fashion for you as well. So what I'm going to do as well, I'm going to go back into MRI again now. Now I'm going to take another piece of correspondence. I'm going to be very dull again. I'm going to have a late letter this time. So today it's all about the arrears and chasing money, but I think that's a lot of our cases anyway. So we have an example of a late letter here. Again, I'm just going to run that within MRI. Wait for my communicator sensor to... there we go. Okay. So I'm just going to download this. We have 11 pieces of correspondence here, which are late letters. So the scenario here is that it's the end of the month and I want to send out all my statements to my tenants, and I want to send out all the late letters saying, hey, come on guys, you owe us this much money and this is a statement of your payments for the last 30, 60, 90 days. So I've exported that from MRI now. I'm going to come back into my eConnect application. So I still have my statement that I previously sent before, and I'm going to select my late letter at the same time. I click open and I click upload. Now what that will do, again, it's going to read through, it's going to do its magic stuff, it's going to go away to MRI, it's going to find our different pieces of correspondence. Okay, it's uploaded both templates there. I'm going to come back into here. I'm going to basically, I'm going to print the exceptions and mark these as reviewed. Obviously we did that before, so I won't bore you with the details a second time. Print the exceptions and mark as reviewed. As I mentioned the first time, we can automate that step, so you don't have to complete that if you don't want to. And all the steps I'm going to show you next, again, can be automated. So we go into our merge tab. So merge is basically a way of combining pieces of information, whether that be 2 documents, 3 documents, 100 documents, whether you want custom front covers on that, and it also gives you the ability to merge things in different ways as well. And when I say different ways, that relates to this merge option here. So what you see, we have reference 1 and 2 in email. So what we mean by that is that when we upload information from MRI, we keep things at different levels. So if it's lease information, for instance, we'll have a building ID and a lease ID. So a building ID is reference 1 and a lease ID is reference 2. So if we're combining things, we can combine things at reference 1 or reference 1 and 2 level. Likewise, for GL, we may have a portfolio and a entity level. For suppliers, we may just have a supplier level. We also have an email basis here as well. So we have our 2 documents at the moment. I'm going to provide a subject line here, and the reason we have to provide a subject line when we're merging information is because we're taking 2 different documents. That's not automatically mapped within the system to say, hey, these 2 documents need to go from this subject line or from this particular email body. So I'm going to say a subject line here of outstanding balance, and I'm going to put a square brackets in here because I know that relates to my reference 2. We do provide full documentation for all our tags that we use, so don't worry about having to remember very complex names and things. Everything's inside our manuals. But that refers to our lease ID. So we're saying outstanding balance for our lease ID. Now I'm picking my email body. So if you remember back to what I showed you a moment ago, we had our email templates there, and we can pick from a particular email template. I'm going to select statement in this case again. As per the grouping we had before, we have the option to have it as a single document or multiple documents upon the email that we're sending. So I'm going to leave that. In this case, I'm going to say multiple in this case. And then we have our merge option, which I just mentioned a moment ago. So in this scenario, I'm just going to simply combine it at reference 1 and reference 2. But for you guys, it's basically a lease level option, a building and lease level option. Now, obviously, when we're sending that information out at building and lease level, that would generate, for my email address, it would generate 2 emails. So we have the option here to say group emails. So we could send it as 1 email with all the attachments combined if you wanted to. We also have the option here to add in what we call an ad hoc file. So this might be something that, let's say for instance, you wanted to send a notification out to all your tenants that are receiving this particular piece of correspondence. Let's say that's a letter to them saying that it's in December that all payments need to be made by the 24th because we're closing down for Christmas. or that from the 1st of January we're changing our bank to this bank, so please make sure all the payment details are updated, or basically anything you want. To select an ad hoc file, you click on Browse, and then you pick the piece of correspondence you want to. So I'm going to say, in this case, a cover page. So I'll just show you that cover page in this case. So it's a very beautifully crafted single page with our logo and the word cover page on that. I'm going to select, and I'm going to select upload. Now all I have to do to process this, I just have to select the order in which I want the documents to attach themselves, or if it was a single document, the order in which we want them to be combined into one single email. So I'm going to select my late letter first, my statement, and my cover letter. And I'm going to click create and say yes. Okay, so that's now ready to go. We simply hit process. This shows me all the emails that are about to be sent. Now it will show you duplicates because we do have, it's basically one for every single ad hoc document that's there, but it says at the top there, the below emails we merge into multiple attachments attached. And because it's multiple attachments, it's showing us one per, so we can view the attachments if you want to at any point. We can view those individual attachments. I hit send, and again, that's now been sent. Now, while that's been sent, as I mentioned before, we do have a mechanism within the eConnect product where we can automate this process. So I'm going to show you another example while I'm waiting for that to be delivered. It's still coming through. So I'll go to merge, and you'll notice another tab here called auto merge. So this is where we can set up profiles where eConnect is sitting there ready and waiting for our information to come through. And if I edit this very quickly, you'll see this is made up of 5 documents. It's a cover page, as you saw my beautifully illustrated cover page at the beginning there. We have a last page, which is basically identical to my cover page except for the word last page on it. And this is made up of 3 GL reports. Now, this is taken from an example from a recent implementation we did of again, a property manager of ours actually, and they wanted to report to their owners on a monthly basis. The current report pack took them, I think they said, about 2.5 days to produce, running all the relevant reports from MRI, splitting them out, combining them up into different pieces of information and different packs. And there'll be things like income statements, comparative income statements, 12 months forecasts, tenancy schedules, accounts payable, sort of invoice listings, all that information. So we was able to take all that for them, enable it for eConnect, add an auto merge section there for them, and I was able to automate the whole process. So the whole process now from end to end takes no more than about an hour or 2 to process the whole thing through, and that includes running the reports from MRI as well. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to run these 3 GL reports from MRI now. So I'm going to go into MRI, and I'm going to run my 3 reports. So I have my 12-month income statement. I'm going to run that. That's right now. And just while we're waiting there, you can see there's the emails that we received from our last merge sending. So we've got cover page on one there, cover page and 2 attachments there, and cover page and 2 attachments there. The reason this one only has 1 attachment for a statement there is because that tenant didn't have a late letter. So it will also pick through and only send information out where it's needed. So our 12-month statements run now. So I'm just going to download that, and I'm going to say 12-month. And then I'm going to run my comparative income statement. And download that. And then lastly, I'm going to run my standard income statement. Close. Okay, it's a good job I only picked 3 templates and not 10. You guys would all be asleep. Okay, so standard. Okay, so we've now output our three GL reports. As again, I will go over it one more time. We can automate that process, so you can set up a schedule of an inside MRI to, at the end of every month, to email these reports automatically to eConnect, and eConnect will take care of that whole process for you. So I'm going to the upload page here. Now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to pick my 3 templates. I'm going to pick my standard, my comparative, and my 12-month. Okay. I'm going to select open on that. I'm going to click upload. You'll see the seconds are coming in. There you go. And the last one will come in now. And what you'll see when this one completes is they'll all disappear automatically. Now, what's happened there is that eConnect's auto merge rules picked up. It's recognized that the 3 templates it's required has been processed, and then it's automatically processed that information. Now you can configure that to work in 2 ways as well. You can configure it to work as a general. Anyone who uploads templates into eConnect, as soon as it meets this criteria, will automatically send it, or it will be on a user by user basis. So for instance, my user, my colleague Richard's user, Kiri, who's talking to, we'd all have our own automation queues. So if I'm working on one particular set of tenants, Kiri's working on another particular set of tenants, each queue will be automated automatically. So I don't have to do anything in here in terms of sending. If I come through to my emails now, there we go. You'll see straight away I have my reporting pack, and there's my 2 attachments there. I'm just waiting for the additional ones to come through. So when they come through, typical email. So waiting for that to come through. While I'm waiting for that information to come through, the next thing I'll show you is our broadcast engine. So we have the ability within eConnect to send messages out that don't come from MRI, that you want to generate yourself. And you'll see here we have a criteria at the top, which is broken into 3 separate sections. We have commercial, residential, and other. Basically, this looks up, this can pull information directly again from MRI or other sources if you have them. And this is basically designed with it in mind so that you can send messages out to tenants or to whoever you want to. Let's say, for instance, you're having lift maintenance being worked on a particular commercial building. So I can come in here, I could select my commercial building 300. This gives me all my occupiers for my building 300. I can search on occupancy status as well. So if you wanted to send a message out to or historical residential tenants for a particular building because they're still having their postings there, you can still do that. You can do that type of information. So we add our criteria here. So we have our cell phone numbers, or mobile numbers as we call them over here, our email addresses there, and we add our criteria. Now I'm not going to spam everyone else too much today because I've already done that lots, but I've added my 2 email addresses in there. Then I get to add in my email, my message that I want to send to them. So my reply to is where you want that email address to go back to. Again, we're asking for that now because we don't have that automatically mapped set up. So you might want this to reply to a different email address when you're sending that out. So I want it to reply to dean@topupconsultants.com. The subject line is liftworks, and the email could be no lifts next week. Use the stairs. I can preview that message if I want to, so I'll take a look at that before that's been sent. And the additional thing is I can upload any attachments I want as well. So I can upload as many attachments here as I want, and these don't just have to be PDFs. They can be Excel files, Word documents, PowerPoint presentations, you name it. You just can't send out the typical blocked ones such as executables and DLLs and the things that do any damage. So I hit process email broadcast. That's now ready to go, and that's now going to be sent, and away it goes. Now, while I'm just waiting for these last pieces of emails information to come through, it's still coming through now. While I'm waiting for that information to come through, we also have two other aspects of eConnect. First of all is reporting. So we can see what's been going on. So we have some standard KPI information here. I'm just going to change this year because obviously that's, change that to August. There we go. So we get some KPI information here, so we can see between August and September how our information has gone up. We sent 302 emails. They've all been delivered, and 43 have been read. We can see that on which particular days emails were sent, but you can't tell which days we had demos on. And also at the bottom here we have our breakdown of emails versus posted. So we can see that we've, if you're doing some KPIs, you're looking for some money saving ideas, you can see what your return is here. So you can see 65 were posted, 302 were emailed. We also have some reports here which are all Excel generated. So we have things such as detailed statistics and summary statistics. So these are standard Excel reports we have that come out that just show us some sort of general information about what's gone on and how many emails have been sent. So this one isn't too excited, unfortunately. So it's the same September, 300 sent items, 69 printed items, etc. So that's our KPI reporting side of things. Now we do have what we call a document portal or an eConnect portal that's available for our eConnect products as well. So as you might have seen in our emails, there we go, we've got our lift works coming through now. But in the emails I've been sending through, you'll notice here there's a click here to see your correspondence link at the bottom. Now this gives us the ability to provide your tenants, your partners, your internal users a portal in which they can log into and they can review everything that's been sent. Now, as you can see here, this is a bright green background with top-up consultants all over it. So don't fear, this isn't the standard login page. This can be completely tailored to your brand. It can be, we can have your clients' logos on there if you want to. It can be your colors, your styles. That's all taken care of as part of implementation. So you don't have to put up with our beautiful green backgrounds. So I'm just logging into our portal now. And everything you see in here as well, it can be turned on and off. So we start with a lease summary. So this shows me, as I'm logging in this particular tenant, this is a summary of my lease. Additional information can be added or taken away from here as well. And also the last set of transactions that I've received as well. Again, this all can be turned on and off. The next section we have is documents. So this is all the information that I've been sent. So these are all the statements, these are all the late letters, this is all the information that's been sent to my email address. At this point as well, we have a contact button here as well. So the tenant can contact, or the partner or the client can contact you if they so wish. So they could put comments in, they can select whether they want to be sent via email, want to be contacted by email, and they'd put their email address in here, or they want to be contacted by phone, they'd put their phone number in there. That would then be configurable as well, so we can again set that up to go back to one central email address if you want to, or on a per client by client basis, you can configure that to go back to different people. That's all to do with the implementation and the setup that we do for you when we're going through that process. For anyone who's involved in retail, I'm sure one thing that you have to contend with is capturing turnover rent figures for your ratchet and sales-based rents. So we have here a sales entry screen. Now this can be configured if you're a single tenant, you don't have more than one lease, you won't see the building and lease options here. This is set up here so that I can use multiple leases. So if I select my Morgan Mills, I have a list of my lease IDs that relate to Morgan Mills, and I can then enter my turnover rent sales figures here. So I enter, let's just say something very brief, $1,000 and my VAT, which you guys won't have, but sales tax, which you can enter that there, and that adds a total there. We can again hide the sales tax if you want to, if you don't want that there. We can also apply a percentage automatically, so when you enter a net amount, it'll automatically calculate the tax as well. We also then have two options on how you want to be entering that information. So people capture sales entry, turnover rents on different ways. Some collect them daily, some collect them weekly, monthly. I don't think I've ever heard anyone doing hourly yet, annually, etc. So this can be again tailored for you guys. So that this is an example of a range. So from this date to this date, but we can change it for a pick list. So if you want to pick a day of the month, if you want to pick a particular week, a month, a period, for instance, so you may want to relate it to an MRI period, you can do that. So I'm just going to say from the 1st of September through to the 8th of September. And again, we have some more options here. So sales category. So what category of information do you want to collect your information on? So let's say confectionery, and it's estimated, audited or reported figures. So I'm going to say reported in this case. Submit that through. That populates that in the grid below. These two drop-down lists here, again, these work on code lists, very much like you do in MRI. So you just populate a code list, and that information then comes through. Okay. So lastly, we have our utilities. So we have the ability to capture utility readings within this module as well. So again, if you have multiple units, multiple items, You can set the building, you can set the lease that relates to. Let's go to the loft at Manhattan. This doesn't want to be friends with me at the moment. There we go. And then we enter the meter reading or the utility reading. So let's say 1999. The date in which you want to record that reading. So let's say the 8th of September. And the utility reading type. So we have water, gas, electricity. Again, if you have any obscure other utilities that want to be added, this is all code list driven, and that can be populated. So we're going to say gas in this one. And all this information you're seeing here, so all my sales information, my utility information, this can all be pushed back to MRI. So all your sales history here can go back to MRI, so it can be calculating your rents. Likewise, if you don't want it to go back to MRI, it can go to spreadsheets, it can go to other databases. It's all completely configurable, and that's something we take care of as part of the implementation process. So that's our eConnect demonstration taken care of. We do have a question just come through. It says, "Hi Dean, does eConnect automatically pull email addresses from MRI, or do you have to load them into eConnect separately?" It does pull automatically from MRI. As I mentioned previously, it goes over, either if you're a SaaS client, it goes over the API and pulls them automatically from MRI, even to the point where that if you uploaded a piece of correspondence, it pulls an email address, then you typed a new email address into MRI. If you hit the refresh button on the upload screen, it will pull that new email address through automatically for you as well. Hi Dean, can eConnect compile responses to tenant surveys if the survey was sent out via eConnect? So one thing you could do if you wanted to collect a tenant survey, if it was a regular survey, is that we could provide that survey within the tenant portal, which I'm showing you at the moment. So you can send that piece of correspondence out from eConnect to say connect to the portal, and that page can be connected from the portal. You just need to speak to us about what questions you want to answer during that survey. So that's not a problem as well. And then another question, can eConnect combine different pages of different documents useful for reporting packets? I'm not too sure what you mean by different pages of different documents there, but certainly anything that comes out of MRI and anything you have outside of MRI, so for instance, anything you put in a PDF form that you want to automatically combine, it can be done, that's for sure. And does it write back from tenant portals? Yes, as it's mentioned there, it absolutely does write back from tenant portals. It can write back to MRI, and like I said, it can write back to anywhere else that you would like it to go back to. Okay, so I'm going to hand back to Kiri now, but I'd like to thank you all very much for your time today. And if you do have any further questions, please feel free to let us know, and we will we'll obviously be more than happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you very much for that, Dean. So if anybody has any more questions, as Dean mentioned, you're more than welcome to type them up now. We are here. We'll still be on for a couple of minutes. If you I would just like to say thank you very much for joining us, and a little bit about us again, where you can contact us. We have Global Operations Center in Dartford, which is outside of London. Our head office is in London, and we have a Central European office in Frankfurt. As I said earlier, we will be attending MRI IUC this year. We will be in the solutions room, so please come and find us. We ran an online poll with a lot of the MRI clients that will be attending IUC this year, and the poll came out for a $150 Amazon voucher to be given away. So please come and visit us at our stand 504 in the solutions room at MRI's IUC this year, and drop off your card in order to be registered for the draw. We will be very, very happy to see you and look forward to seeing you then. I don't see any more questions. Don't see that there's anybody else asking any more questions. So I would like to bring the webinar to a conclusion. Thank you very much for your time. I hope you have a great day, and see you in Orlando.